Okay, so now if we go to the second example, still not perfect, but much better. So firstly, Claire uses humor to tackle this hard and brutal task of critiquing the journalist. So we know this paragraph is about the use of humor, okay, to critique journalists. Great. That's lovely. We have a nice claim. It can be shown through the whole passage that the speaker knows that she has been set up for failure by being brutally blunt, thus showing the journalist a sense of hesitance as she's facing on addressing such a sensitive topic. So this is setting up our quote, or setting up our evidence. Then we have our evidence. You have asked me to tell you it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Then our warrant. This just emphasizes how the speaker is telling the audience that they were the ones who wanted her to tackle on such a task, and that she uses humor to help lighten the atmosphere around the audience before doing so. Again, this is the format you should be following. There's a very clear claim, there's the use of evidence, and then there's an explanation going on in the warrant. You can do this better than this example, but at least this will get you a passing grade, okay? You can make it more eloquent. You can piece it together, in a higher order way, but this is good, okay? You need to be structuring your paragraphs with a claim as your topic sentence here, then evidence, then an explanation, your warrant. Now, the last thing I want to go over is your quotes are way too long. And what do I mean by way too long? There are very, very few times where you should be quoting an entire line, okay? Very, very few times. If we look at this example here, we have a quote that lasts 3 lines. Now, most of you had it would stop about here, right? And it would be, a complete line and then a little bit of some. This one is an even longer example. And then another problem is you quote. So here we have a quote. You'll have no explanation and then again a really big quote. And then some of you, again, a really big quote, even though that's not the case in this particular example. When you are quoting, you should be quoting the bare essentials from the text only, okay? What do I mean by this? In order to get your point across, what is absolutely necessary? Is it absolutely necessary that you have an entire line? If the answer to that is no, then don't quote the whole line. For example, where this person says, throws rocks at you, that's one phrase from an entire line that this person pulled, and that's okay. Pull this as your evidence to give an idea and then go off of it. So if you look at the construction of this sentence, most of it, this is the complete sentence, most of it is the words of the writer. And that's great. But if we go on here, she goes on saying, blah, 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 furthering her point, suggesting that her audience needs to be prepared for what she's about to throw. That's way too much quoting, especially if you're trying to use this as your warrant, right? So consider what is the bare minimum, what are the most essential words or phrases that you need to include, and then incorporate those into your own writing, okay? If we're going to fix this, so one of the first things she shares is that the American press invited her to throw rocks at you, you being the press. She goes on saying, you have asked me to tell you what's wrong with you, the American press. If you're going to quote anything, I would just, this is even a bit much, you asked me, and again, I'm going to just throw this in there. In the text, it's emphasized, it's italicized for emphasis. You should write it exactly how it appears. So she goes on saying, you asked me to tell you what's wrong with you, the American press. And then get rid of this. We don't need more evidence. You should have 2 pieces of evidence. So she goes on saying, you have asked me, and this should not be capitalized. You asked me to tell you what's wrong with you, the American press. Now, the emphasis or the italicized, and then you and me, we should probably, in your writing you couldn't italicize these, but you could point it out that they were italicized. The italicized you and me emphasize the fact that she knows what she's going to say will not resonate well with the audience. Oof, we have no, will not sit well. We'll put, sorry. Okay, so what she's going to say is not going to sit well with the audience. So, and it's probably not the best transition. What she does is she stresses, so Luce stresses the fact that this association, and I don't have it in front of me, but you could name it, this association called on her to deliver these hard truths. Her emphasized words create a sense of sarcasm. You could use irony or sarcasm. I think I would use sarcasm. Or you could even use humor. We used this before. Her emphasized words create a sense of humor because she's almost mocking the idea that they called on her to tell them what's wrong with American journalism. Okay, and this would be a way we could fix this. Notice we dropped it down so that if we went through and highlighted what's actually quoted from the text, okay, this is actually quoted from the text, so is this, and this. That is so little compared to what it was. And if we draw that in comparison to the explanation, which would be the warrant, look at the difference here. Okay, your warrant should far outweigh what you're quoting from the text. Because if it doesn't, that means that your whole quote unquote analysis is not analysis, but it's you pulling quotes from the text, and that's not okay. All right. I would suggest, and I'll go ahead and put that there, 2 examples from the text. It's bold, sorry. So when quoting, I would say 2, no more than 3 brief quotes. And by brief, what do I mean? Not an entire sentence. Okay. And then your warrants. The bulk of your essay. So your warrants should be the bulk of your essay. Okay. And then have a clear claim at the beginning. I'm going to say in your first line. Okay, and that's really important. All right, so going forward, you guys both classes will be writing another rhetorical analysis. Keep these things in mind. Please, 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 I do not want to bang my head against the wall while I read your essays. And I mean that both figuratively and literally. It got to the point where it's taken me so long to get through all the essays because I could only grade 3 at a time, because it was not going to be fair to those people that were the 4th, 5th, 6th, etc. essays if I continued to sit here and grade them. These are things you should be doing in all of your writing, not just for English. And they're things that do not go away. They will help you in college. I guarantee they will help you in college. You will write papers in college, even if you don't take an English class, okay? So please, as you work through this, remember the lessons that you learned in this class. If you take away nothing from your English class from 11th and 12th grade, please take away how to structure an essay, okay? At the bare minimum, paragraphs. So I hope this helped you guys. Like I said, we'll be doing one more activity, or we'll be doing more with rhetorical analysis, I should say. Seniors, you will write a different type of essay in the near future, but you will use the same structure. You'll use the same structure in any analysis, any major academic paper that you write. Okay? If you have any questions, please send me an email and have a great day.